Hello, you are listening to Disney Travel Tales, episode number 56. This is a space where you can escape the real world and immerse yourself in someone's recent Disney trip. I'm Jenny, and today I am so excited that you are here for this episode. I am talking with my very first international guest, Lisa from Australia. Lisa and her husband came to the U.S. and visited Disneyland and Walt Disney World. This episode is all about their Disneyland portion of the trip. Make sure to visit our Instagram page at Disney Travel Tales to see pictures of Lisa's Disneyland adventure. If you are a new listener to the podcast, then welcome. I'm so happy you're here. Go ahead and subscribe to the podcast wherever you're listening so you never miss a new episode. And then go follow us on Instagram so you can see all the pictures of my guests. If you're enjoying the show, please leave a positive review on Apple Podcast or Spotify. This is the best and easiest way to support the show, and I really appreciate it. Okay, so let's get going. Imagine yourself walking down Main Street and seeing Sleeping Beauty Castle for the very first time. And let's go! So today on the show, I have Lisa, and I am so excited to have Lisa because she is my first international guest. Yay!
Yay! That's so exciting.
So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us your experience with Disney vacations?
Woo! I might get a little bit emotional talking about this actually. Me and my fiance decided we were going to the US from Australia for my best friend's wedding. I was a maid of honor in a wedding, and we thought, why not go to Disneyland? The wedding was in California. So we researched up Disneyland, and we said, yep, this looks amazing. It would have been my third trip to Disneyland and my fiance's first trip.
Exciting.
Then we came across the joys of YouTube and started looking up, I wonder what the Walt Disney World Park in Florida is like, and I couldn't quite believe it. A lot of Australians generally go to Disneyland. We're very much California-centric. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't really travel to Florida. So for the joys of YouTube channels that I'm sure a lot of your listeners watch, All Ears, Mama Club, Disney Food Blog, our trip, which was originally intended for 3 days, turned into 7.
That's amazing.
And we just had the best time. I wasn't much of a theme park person as a kid. I hated rides. I was terrified of them. My partner had never been to a theme park before, so we kind of got to live our best kind of children-esque lives for a week.
That's so great.
For our honeymoon, which was really sweet. Yeah.
That is so much fun. You know, I personally think Disney is more fun as an adult anyway because you just appreciate it more.
Oh, absolutely. And then I don't have to deal with kids having meltdowns. Yes. I seriously take my hat off to parents in the Disney parks. I don't know how parents do it. It's so hard. The heat, the pressure to have so much fun.
Yes.
We had such a good time. It was the best.
Well, I'm so excited to hear all about it. Okay, so we are just going to dive right into your trip. So let's just start right at the beginning. What day did y'all fly to California?
We landed on Tuesday, the 30th of August, Tuesday night, at around, I think it was like 8:30 p.m. Mm-hmm. And then we had our first day at Disneyland on Wednesday. So we'd been in the country for less than 12 hours and we were straight in a Disney park. We stayed at the Anaheim Hotel, which is across the road from theme park. And the walking distance to it was superb.
Yes,
so good.
So nice. I mean, that is the one thing Disneyland has over Disney World is it's like the park is just right in the middle of town.
It's just crazy. And if you need an escape, it's so much easier to get out.
Yes.
We did want to stay in the Grand Californian, but, money. Yeah. It's so expensive.
It's so expensive. Like, I don't know how people stay there.
I don't know.
But it is beautiful. It's a beautiful hotel.
It's gorgeous.
Okay, so when y'all got to Disneyland, what was the first thing y'all did?
Cry out the front, if I'm completely honest. I was so happy to take my fiance back. My fiance, his name's Rory. He had a dream of being an animator as a kid, so for him going to Disney was kind of ticking this big bucket list item off. I will never forget walking into, and everyone who's been to Disneyland knows this feeling, when you're in the section in the middle, I forget what it's called, and you've got California Adventure on the left and you've got the Disney Park on the right. That feeling of seeing it for the first time, you really can't. If you haven't experienced it, you can't really explain it. But I quite literally jumped up and down because there was pumpkins everywhere. And I think my fiance got really sick of me just saying, look at all the pumpkins for the first 20 minutes of the day.
They're amazing though.
I just couldn't believe it. Halloween's not really a thing in Australia, believe it or not. It's slowly becoming a thing, but we are so into it. After spending a couple of weeks with all of the pumpkins, we are down for the Halloween. We are very excited.
That is so interesting. I didn't realize that, but
No. Yeah, it's really not. It's only in the last couple of years where kids have started trick-or-treating. You will see some decorations out in front of people's houses, but it is nothing at all like what it is in the States.
Yes, it's a big deal.
Big deal.
So after you got acclimated, what did y'all do next?
We ran straight to the Star Wars land. It was, being my third visit to Disneyland, this was the part of the park that I hadn't seen. And I was so excited to just feel like I was thrown right in the middle of it. So, yep, we went straight to Star Wars Land. It was incredible. So the first thing we did was the Smuggler's Run ride, and it was amazing. It was amazing. I did not realize the simulator could be that amazing. I just loved it so much. So we did that through the Lightning Lane. I don't think we waited very long for that at all. The week that we went, it was quiet.
Oh, that's nice.
So we didn't have long waits for most of the day, which was good. But Smuggler's Run was incredible. I remember Rory and I jumping up and down like children once we got off that ride. We just couldn't believe it. It was amazing.
That's wonderful.
The next one we did was Rise of the Resistance. We booked the individual Lightning Lane for that. My mind is still blown. I have now ridden that ride 3 times, and I feel like it's just Imagineering at its absolute best.
It's insane, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. I couldn't believe how good it was. And what was amazing about it is that I think it actually gets better the more that you ride it, because I felt the first time I was so overjoyed and didn't really know where to look or what to feel, that by the time I'd ridden it a couple of times, I saw all these little details and all the nods to the film that really make you appreciate the quality of that experience. I can't believe how good it was.
Yeah, it's an amazing ride. We love it as well, especially my son is a huge Star Wars fan. He just couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, I could have sat on that ride all day. Yeah, I loved it. So we did that. For the people out there who have been watching Disney Food Blog, we watched it religiously for about a year before we went. So I was very excited to have a Ronto wrap, and it was delicious.
Very good, very good.
Loved it. Where did we go from there? We were, as I said, we're really fortunate with low wait times. So the next thing was Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. This is my personal favourite ride, and it still is my favourite. When I went to the Disney parks with my mum about 5 years ago, I was petrified of rides. Petrified. And my mum said to me, I'll never forget it, she said, "We have not flown for 15 hours for you not to get on a ride." So we got on it, and I loved it then. I love it now. It's that perfect level of theming with a little bit of a thrill, and everyone's giggles on that ride. It just makes it. Everyone just sounds so happy to be there, and that's what makes me happy. I love that ride.
It is such a fun ride, and it's pretty simple. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's like The perfect amount of thrill.
Hey parents, do your kids listen to podcasts? Do they like solving mysteries and flexing their imaginations? Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is a new children's mystery podcast. Your kid can join Billy Bonanza and Susie Sockington on exciting and wacky adventures as they attempt to solve mysteries around their school. Mysteries at Riddleton Elementary is available now on all podcast platforms.
Yeah, there's nothing fancy about it, but it doesn't need to be.
Right.
I just think it's awesome. We love that. I think we were in the line for that for about 5 minutes before we jumped on, so
that's
very
awesome.
Fortunate. The next one we did was Jungle Cruise. That was a 15-minute wait for us. Loved it. Loved it 5 years ago. Loved it now.
Mm-hmm.
We had a really good skipper.
Uh-huh.
The only issue we had is that we couldn't hear her all that well. We were up the front, which was good, but if we were closer to the back, I don't think we would have heard her as well. But, yeah, the skippers really make that ride.
Yes.
And we were fortunate to have one who cracked some jokes, so that was good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was awesome. The next ride we did was Space Mountain. We lightning laned that. I think that was about a 10-minute wait for us. It wasn't very long. I was a bit scared of Space Mountain. I didn't really know what to expect. My partner had an absolute ball. He's a little bit more of a thrill seeker than me. We've got a photo of us on that ride, and I look petrified. I don't even look like I'm having a good time. But yeah, it's one of those things, you got to do it. If you've gone all the way to Disneyland, you got to do it. But yeah, I was a little bit scared.
Well, because it's in the dark, you have no idea what you're doing.
No, it's just crazy. And then I've seen, since we've been there, YouTube videos of it lit up at, with lights on, and you can't believe how small and compressed everything is in there.
I know.
Yeah, but we loved that. That was awesome. The next one we did was It's a Small World. That ride has a big piece of my heart. As I said, when I went with Mum a couple of years ago, my mum just adored it. My mum's not a thrill seeker. She's there for the cute kind of Disney aspect, and that ride is there's just something really sentimental about it, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just that Walt had his hand all over that ride is something very special.
I feel like if you're a real Disney person, you really understand that ride.
Yes.
I feel like you've got to be a little bit invested in the history and understand the Imagineers that were involved in that ride to really appreciate how ahead of its time it really was, and the message that ride portrays. Like, I know the song's a little bit frustrating. I wouldn't want to be caught on that ride for in a breakdown. That song is that song can stick in your head very easily, but I don't know. I just think it's a really nice message. Like, it is a small world after all.
Yeah.
And how's this? Like, I'm from Australia, you're from the US, I found you on Instagram. Like, I think it's really important to remember it is a small world and we should all be there for each other and celebrate each other's differences.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, it was so ahead of its time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so crazy to think that that's what people did to see what other cultures were like.
I know.
Yeah. I just love it. I get a little bit emotional talking about that ride. I don't know why, but
yes, I love it as well. It is special.
So what else did we do that day? We went to Trader Sam's for lunch. The stress of getting a Disney dining reservation. We do not talk about that enough.
It is stressful, especially at Disneyland. Disneyland has different rules when it comes to getting a dining reservation. It is tough.
It was really tough. I'll never forget that 60 days prior to Disneyland and just panicking. Like, oh, I gotta get it. It is such a thrill when you do get a reservation, though. Yeah. We loved our experience at Trader Sam's. We were those silly foreigners, though, that didn't bring their passports. So anyone listening who is not an American resident, please bring a copy of your passport. Or not even a copy, please bring the original of your passport. They do not take a photo of your passport. They do not take a scan of your passport. They want the original. So my fiance, who was desperate for a beer at this point, we couldn't drink because we didn't bring our passports.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, they were really strict on it. I definitely don't look 21. Especially at that point of the day, I looked a lot older than 21. Excuse me. And yeah, they absolutely said, nope, no service unless you've got your passport. So that's one of my top tips for people coming from overseas, is to make sure you bring a passport. That's
a great tip.
But the food was delicious. We had the salmon poke bowls, and they were really, really good. Really good. It was nice to eat something that was on the slightly fresher side rather than something that was fried and equally delicious, but it was nice to eat something on the slightly healthier side.
Oh, absolutely. Especially since, from your notes, it was really hot, temperature-wise.
I can't actually believe it. I think it was pure adrenaline that got us through that day. It was hot. It was I think it was in the 90s for the Fahrenheit. And because of us being from Australia, the temperature, we're in winter.
Mm-hmm.
So to go from cold to extreme heat, it was adrenaline that pushed us through. Absolutely. It was crazy hot.
Yeah, and Southern California usually doesn't even get that hot. I think y'all were there when there was like this awful heat wave going through.
Yeah, I remember checking the weather on my phone in the morning, and we were getting all these alerts for excessive heat warnings.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely out of the normal. But if anything, it was a bit of an advantage for us at Disney because we could take it a bit slower because it was quiet.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to Disney a couple of weeks later with my mum and dad, and the weather was cooler and the park was much, much, much busier. So it was almost nice for our first day for it to be that little bit quieter.
Yes.
But yeah, the heat was brutal. It was really brutal.
Yes, that's great. That's awful. So I'm sure that refreshing poke bowl was so nice.
It was so good. Yeah, at that point I think it was 100 degrees Fahrenheit when we walked into that restaurant. So yeah, we were sweaty.
Yeah.
And happy to be in some air conditioning.
Yes. So what did y'all do after y'all ate?
We went to California Adventure. So that was fun. I love that those parks are so different. I know there's some people out there that are not huge fans of California Adventure. I love it. We had such a good day. The first ride we did was Toy Story Midway Mania. I absolutely thrashed my partner with the score. I had 135k and he got 98k.
Yay!
He believes I cheated. I just know that I'm better at the ride than him. So I'm happy with that.
That's amazing.
Then we just did some fillers. We did Jessie's Critter Carousel. That was a 2-minute wait. And Ariel's Undersea Adventure, which was 5 minutes. We were just happy to get some aircon at that point. But still cute. Really cute. It's nothing fancy, but it's cute.
Yeah, it's like a fun little break to just sit down, get some air, and yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We went to Pim's Cafe. At this point, it was so hot. We just needed any kind of relief. We had the Proton drink, which was quite nice. But again, it was so hot I could have been drinking anything and it would have been nice at this rate. We then lined up for the Spider-Man web slingers. Excuse me, we didn't line up. We did the individual lightning lane for that.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. The ride broke down. So we were in the middle of it. I think we're about 3/4 of the way through it. And it broke down. I didn't love this ride. I'm not sure if that's a controversial opinion. Have you been on it, Jenny?
I haven't been on it, but I've heard people who don't really like it. Like, they're not that impressed by it.
I do not think it's worth paying for, if I'm completely honest. And keeping up with Disney, I do think that it's actually no longer an individual lightning lane now. I think it's part of Genie Plus. I think for the caliber of the other rides that you pay an individual fee for, I just don't think this comes to the party.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, but definitely not worth the extra cost, in my opinion.
That's good to know too, yeah.
Yeah. If you've got a young one or an older one, like my fiance that's really into Spider-Man, I'd consider it. But otherwise, I would have been happy not to have done it.
Yeah, I've heard mixed things. Some people love it, but you know what's funny is usually the people who love it, they have little kids, and so their kids love it, and so it makes it like more fun for them. Yeah,
I can really appreciate the value for young kids. I can really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the next ride we did was Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. As I said before, I am not a thrill seeker. This ride also broke down. We were in the queue for about an extra 40 minutes.
Oh my god!
Which I don't think helped my anticipation.
Yep.
We got on it. My partner and I, we are Marvel fans. We've watched all the movies. We love Guardians of the Galaxy. But this ride shook me to my core. I was absolutely terrified. I realised very quickly that I am not a fan of drop rides.
Yeah.
The photo of Rory and I on this ride, I think I'm holding onto his hand so tight that it could have fallen off. It's a no for me.
Yeah, I mean, on a drop ride, you either like them or you don't.
Yeah, and I really took a punt. I said to Rory, we'll do it. I'll give it a go, but I can't guarantee that I'll like it. And the fact that I didn't like that ride and the reaction that I had to it has become more funny than the ride itself.
Yeah.
The photo of us is printed on our fridge because it's such a terrible photo of me.
That's so great.
It's so funny.
That's awesome.
At this point, we were so hot and so sweaty. We had to go back to our hotel for a costume change.
Mm-hmm.
We were so uncomfortable, so sweaty. So we went back to the hotel and had a rest, which was much needed. We were very excited, though. We had a dinner reservation at the Lamplight Lounge. I had so many people tell me that the lobster nachos were the thing to get,
Mm-hmm.
and they did not disappoint. They were delicious.
Nice.
But what was spectacular about that restaurant is the location. We were fortunate enough to have one of the tables right outside at the bench that sits along the perimeter of the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And I booked it in time for the sunset so we could watch all of the lights turn on across the park. Amazing.
That's so nice. That sounds amazing.
It was just, it's those little things. And the way that I feel about this holiday is the things that shone out really shone.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that you didn't expect to be amazing were brilliant. And I think that's what sets Disney apart from some other places. It's those little unexpected things like watching all the lights turn on. And they're the things that you can't really plan for. You can't book the lightning lane for. You can't be, organised to the nth degree. You've just got to let things happen around you. And that was a moment that Rory and I sat there and we were like, this is brilliant.
Aww.
This is amazing.
That's great.
So,
and that's so
true.
True. Yeah, it's the things that you don't plan. Those are the best memories.
Absolutely, because you haven't thought about it to the nth degree of its life, and you haven't tried to overcook and overplan it, and you can just let it be. But we loved that dinner. We loved it. It was delicious. From there, we went to Goofy Sky School. Rory was like, Lisa, that's a kid's ride. You'll be fine. No, I hated it. I absolutely hated it. Anyone who's been on that ride, it is scary, and I will not be told otherwise.
It is scary. I agree.
It is scary.
Yeah.
The way that it's set up with the sharp turns, how you're sitting right on the edge of the ride, and because it's all, it's not like Big Thunder where there's not fake mountains and things kind of hiding all of the ride mechanisms. You can see everything, and I think I screamed the whole time. There was a young family in one of the ride vehicles behind us who were more laughing at me than laughing at the ride. So That was a firm no from me. Not doing that one again.
Oh, that's so funny.
Terrified. But the highlight for me of the whole night was Fantasmic. I can't really put into words what that experience was like. We didn't even have the best seat in the house, but it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't know, it was the first time that my partner had seen the nighttime Disney entertainment. We'd watched plenty of it on YouTube and all of that stuff, but being there in the flesh and seeing it yourself is amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. I love that show. Have you seen it before?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Did you cry, or is it just me?
So I cried when we saw Fantasmic, but we saw it at Disney World. But yes, the first time I saw it.
Yeah, I was so emotional. I couldn't really put it into words.
Mm-hmm.
But anyone who's seen it gets it, so I don't need to preach how good it is. But
I cry at every fireworks show.
Oh, you wait till I tell you about all the others. I don't know, but there's just something about Fantasmic. I thought it was, out of all the night shows we saw,
Mm-hmm.
for me it was the second best out of all of them.
It's amazing.
It's just beautiful.
Yes.
So from there we had some churros because I needed something to bring me back to life after the emotional roller coaster that was Fantasmic.
Uh-huh.
I will say Disneyland churros better than Disney World churros.
Yep.
I think that might be common opinion, but there's something about the Disneyland churros. They are delicious.
Yeah, I don't know why, but yeah, you're right.
Yep. You'd think they'd be the same, but they're definitely not.
They're not the same. Nope.
We also went on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. I've been on this ride a couple of times, and I had a feeling my partner would really like it, and he did. It was his favourite. He loves the fact that it's kind of Disney in reverse. It's the movie's based on the ride rather than the other way around.
Uh-huh.
There's just all the little details in that ride, and I feel like similar to It's a Small World, I think it was really ahead of its time when it first came out. I just love it.
Yeah, it's fun. And I actually agree. I like that the movie was based off the ride. I think that's so cool.
Yep, love it. Loved it. We had such a good time. From there we did Winnie the Pooh. That was a walk-on. At this point, the park was pretty quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of the night shows had finished, so it's mass exodus after the night shows, which was nice. So we just got to walk on to Winnie the Pooh. We were also really fortunate to catch right at the end of the what's it called? The Electric
Street Parade. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it was actually the second last night that it was on.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, y'all are lucky. Y'all get to see it.
We caught the floats just leaving at the end.
Uh-huh.
And Rory said to me, he said, why is everyone crying? Why is everyone really upset? And I said, come on, you should know this. It's like the second last night of the show. And it was just so sad to see all these people. They were devastated.
Yeah.
They were absolutely devastated. So it was nice to see how emotional people get and how seriously they take it. I think it's really sweet.
Yes, I agree.
From there, we did the Mad Tea Party. That was a straight walk-on for us.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Rory hated it. I didn't tell him that you can adjust the spinning yourself, so I went really hard. I got revenge on him for making me go on the Mission Breakout ride, and I went really hard and made him feel really sick. And I have no issues with that at all.
You're like, it's payback. It's payback,
right.
baby.
You make me suffer, I make you suffer.
That's awesome.
So from there, we just walked around and soaked it all in. I think we were a little bit delirious by this point. It was the end of the day. At that point, we left the park at 11:30 at night. We got there at 8 in the morning. So we had done a huge day. We had walked 30,000 steps.
That's crazy.
It was pure adrenaline.
Yeah.
Pure adrenaline and excitement.
Yes,
so
because y'all probably were not acclimated to the time change, were y'all? Yeah.
Not at all. We were all over the place, mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
It was just riding that wave of emotions. If we had done that kind of day towards the end of our holiday, I don't think we actually could have done it,
Mhm.
but we did it because it was the first day of the trip and we were just really excited to be there.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. You can just make your body power through.
It just goes to show when you've got that much enthusiasm for something, what you're capable of doing.
Yep. Very much so.
So good. But if I had to say my favourite part of the day, and I feel like people who've got young kids will understand where I'm coming from with this. When you go to a Disney park with someone who hasn't been, you get this, what's the word I'm looking for? It's the joy that you get in watching someone else experience something for the first time. And there's that plaque and everyone who's walked into Disneyland will know it, but the plaque says, "Here you leave today and enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow, and fantasy." And the way that the parks could set up how the walkways kind of curve and then they all come into the main street in the middle, I will never forget the look on my partner's face when he saw, the plaque on the bridge and turning into Main Street and seeing it all pop up for the first time. It was such a magical experience for me to see him have that moment.
I love that.
Yeah, I get a bit emotional talking about it, really.
Yes, and it's real. Like it's magical to see people see something especially Disney for the first time. It's just magical. Like there's no other words to describe it.
There really is no other words.
Mm-hmm.
My favourite ride was Rise of the Resistance. My all-time favourite ride is Big Thunder. But my favourite ride, if this makes any sense at all, is Rise of the Resistance.
Yes.
And my least favourite is a toss-up between Web Slingers or Mission Breakout. So funny.
That is so funny.
Day 2, the 30,000 steps and the bonkers day the day before caught up with us. We did not get into the parks until 10 a.m. that day. We really needed a rest. We were exhausted but happy.
Mm-hmm.
With this day was extra special for us. My best friend who lives in California and her fiance joined us in the parks. My good friend Tiffany hasn't been to any of the Disney parks for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
She used to be an annual pass holder. And her fiance hadn't been since he was 5 or 6.
Oh, wow.
So we were all kind of experiencing it somewhat together for the first time.
Yeah.
It was really sweet.
That's
really
fun.
Sweet. So the first thing we did was a much-needed trip to Starbucks. I had no issues with lining up. The line was long, but when you need coffee and you just do it.
Yep. You'll wait for however long it takes.
That's right. I did not care. I had a pumpkin spice cold brew. As I said, Halloween's not a massive thing in Oz. We do have little bits and pieces, but the pumpkin spice cold brew is not a thing over here.
Okay.
So to say I was excited was a complete understatement. I loved it. Loved it. So I was very happy to have a Starbucks drink. So after the coffee, we took Tiffany and Cody straight back to where we started the first day. We beelined back to Star Wars. We thought we would start off with the best of the best, considering my friend's fiance hadn't been in there since he was 5.
Yeah.
So let's start from the absolute bee's knees and work our way down. So this was the second time that we did both Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance. Smuggler's Run was the Lightning Lane and Rise of the Resistance was the individual Lightning Lane selection. Loved it. Again, experiencing that ride with someone or 2 people who hadn't done it, and when your emotions have kind of calmed down a little bit and you can see everything a little bit clearer when you do it the second time, amazing.
Yeah, did they love it?
Loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. They are Star Wars people. They've got one of the Millennium Falcon Lego things,
Okay,
so
yeah.
they were very excited. we didn't give them any spoilers at all. We wanted them to just experience it for the first time.
Uh-huh.
And we kind of just downplayed it a little bit. We were a bit cheeky. We said, "Oh, you know, we liked it, but we didn't love it. We'll do it first and see what you guys think."
That's funny.
We were like, "Oh, yeah, it could have been better." We were just trying to downplay it just so they could be absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. There's a section of the ride where the ride vehicle kind of reverses backwards, and then all of a sudden you kind of shot up into the air.
Uh-huh.
And I looked over at my friends, and both of their jaws were on the floor. Like, it's those little moments that you just don't expect.
Yes.
So good.
That's so fun.
So much fun. We then did Big Thunder Mountain Railroad again. Stick to what you know, stick to what you like.
Yep.
From there we did the Tiki Room. That song was in my head for weeks.
Yes.
I will still walk around my house singing that Tiki 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 Room song. It's just, there's something about it.
Yeah, it's very catchy.
Very. But what we really needed was the Dole Whip. This day was really hot as well, so it was just nice to have a little bit of relief. It was my partner's first time having a Dole Whip, so we were very excited. Delicious.
Very good.
One thing I noticed with that, people were very upset in the parks. This is just a note for people who haven't been before. You need to pre-order your Dole Whip. You need to mobile order it. I saw so many people really upset who clearly didn't know that. They'd waited in a line or they'd done something only to be told, "Oh, no, you need to do a mobile order." Mm-hmm. So that's my hot tip for anyone who wants a Dole Whip in Disneyland. Mobile order it.
And it's so easy.
It's so easy. Mm-hmm. We were like, "Oh, yeah, cool, easy. Get on the app, do it." But some people were really confused and a bit upset that you couldn't just line up. So that's my advice for anyone who's desperate for a Dole Whip in Disneyland, is to make sure you order it online.
Yes, that's great advice.
So what else did we do? We went on Pirates of the Caribbean. That was a 20-minute wait. Loved it. We did Astro Blasters and Small World, both of those with lightning lanes. And then we did the Autopia ride, which is a walk-on. Mm-hmm. That ride's interesting. Have you been on it before?
Yes. I am not a fan of that ride.
No, not a fan. Absolutely not a fan. I feel like there is so much potential in a ride like that. Mm-hmm. And it's just a bit of a miss.
It just smells like gas.
Absolutely. I feel sorry for the cast members who have to work there. That's
me too.
Not ideal.
No, it's awful.
It's it's not great, especially when you look at other rides across the other parks like Test Track and the ride for Radiator Springs that have very similar premises, like a very similar theme. But anyway, you got to do everything once, don't you?
Yeah, and it's one of the original rides, I'm pretty sure, close to it, so...
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a fan.
Yeah, not a fan. I'm glad we can agree on that.
Yes.
We then had a Ogre's Cantina reservation for 3 p.m. I was very happy with a decision I made 60 days prior to book it at 3 o'clock. That 3 o'clock heat, I needed some relief at 3 p.m.
Yeah.
I unfortunately can't remember the cocktails that we had, but they were delicious. I just picked I think I remember just looking at the menu and I just picked the most outlandish one that I could. And it was awesome. It was so good. We were very fortunate to have the booth up the front so we could sit down. It would be a bit stressful going in there and having to stand up the whole time, especially when you've already stood up all day. I think that's one of the downsides with that bar is that if you're walking in expecting some relief from air conditioning and giving your feet a rest, it's not guaranteed going into that bar, which is a bit of a shame. But the vibe and the atmosphere in there is awesome.
It's fun, yeah.
Have you been before?
We loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the drink that makes your lips numb. The fuzzy tauntaun.
The fuzzy tauntaun. I think that's the one that I had as well.
Yeah.
I won't lie, I had about 3 cocktails in there. We were really ready for some air conditioning and,
Yeah, some good drinks.
That's it. We had the jelly, it's in like the circle container.
Uh-huh.
That was really nice.
Yeah, that was good too. We had that as well.
Yeah, really, really nice. And the bread rolls that are in there,
Mm-hmm.
are they? Is it like a sweetish bread that's got it's got like a sauce or something you put on it. But either way, it was delicious. It was really good.
Yeah, it's a fun place.
From there, we jumped over to California Adventure and went on Soarin'. I love this ride. There is something about it that hits me in the heartstrings. I went to California, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little bit more, and we went on Soarin', and I loved it then, and I loved it now. I feel like I could do with a little bit of an update. Some of it's, I feel like we've developed all of our, cameras and tech so much recently that I think Soarin' could do with an overview. But that feeling, and people who've been on this ride will get it, that feeling, you lock your seatbelt in and you feel the mechanics of the seats lift up into the air and the smells that come through. Yeah, just there's something about it.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is fun. It's fun. When I got on there with Rory, he said, "You've been talking about this ride since we met, so it better live up to my expectations." He's actually a little bit scared of heights as well. That scene where you fly over the top of the Eiffel Tower, it's a little bit shaky.
Yeah, like every time that scares me.
Yeah, it's a lot. You feel very safe and secure, but it's just how high you are, or how high you feel like you are.
Right.
On the top of that. So that was good. We then did Turtle Talk with Crush. Again, we were really hunting for some air conditioning at this point.
Yep.
It was cute. Some of the kids asked some really cute questions. It was sweet. And did the which Disney character are you? It'd be great if I could recall which one I was. But when you do so much in a day and you
it just blurs together.
Yeah, it all just becomes one big day.
Yep.
We saved Radiator Springs to go with my friends on this day, so this was kind of something we wanted to do with just them, so we only did this on day 2 as opposed to day 1. Radiator Springs races, individual landing lane, is an incredible ride for so many reasons, and it is worth paying for. I loved it. I feel like the attention to detail in that ride is spot on. And the way that land is structured with the the rock formations at the back, it is so immersive. I loved it. How do you feel about that ride?
I love that ride. I love everything about it, and I especially love it's really long.
Yeah, and what's good about it is that it's really good for kids. Because I'm not sure what the height requirement is on that ride.
It's not very tall because when my daughter was 4, she went on it.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so good is that there's a little bit of a thrill there. The theming is magnificent. The height requirement's not too high. It kind of ticks all those boxes, and that probably explains the massive weight that line or that ride gets. So,
yes.
But yeah, just loved it. Just loved it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, worth paying for. Hot tip from Lisa, worth paying for.
That's good. Good to know.
We also did Luigi's Rock and Roller Coaster. That was a 10-minute wait. That was cute, but it's really hard to fill. There's big shoes to fill when you get off Radiator Springs races. Everything else kind of feels a little bit not so good.
Right.
From there, we had dinner at the Mexican Grill. We just had an assortment of street tacos. They were pretty good. Considering we didn't have anything booked in, it was good to just get something quickly, sit down and eat it.
Yeah.
And then leave. I think that's the one thing that we were quite surprised about is how long dining reservations take out of your day. And sometimes it's necessary to sit there and have a really nice long lunch or a nice long dinner. But when you're on the go, sometimes it's better to just do a mobile order and get on with it rather than sit and wait for service, wait for your entrees, wait for dessert, all of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Then what did we do? We went back to Disneyland Park and we watched Disneyland Forever. So what you said before about crying at fireworks, yeah, that's me. I am a crier at the best of times, let alone when you put me in a theme park with fireworks and lighting and music and just incredible. My favourite part is when I think there's a Frozen sequence and the cannons go off with the fake snow that comes into the air. I was so emotionally exhausted that I think I burst into tears.
Yeah.
It
happens.
It happens.
It happens.
Rory, my fiance, is looking at me like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? But it's all those other moments though. It's like it's seeing the little kids on the parents' shoulders and the kids just look like they're having the best day ever. It's when you see parents have lovingly looking exchanges between them and their kids and they're having this lovely moment, and it's just really nice to be a part of those moments.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, like when you go to those things, just take in your surroundings.
And it's not even just the fireworks that makes it. It's exactly what you've just said. It's the looking at the audience and seeing like couples my age and Rory's age having a little cuddle and a little kiss while the fireworks are on. It's seeing kids have complete and utter meltdowns while the parents are trying to enjoy themselves. It's such a good place to people watch.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, very good. So after the fireworks, we ran out of the park. We left straight after fireworks and we'd done 22,000 steps.
Impressive.
We were exhausted.
Yeah.
Absolutely exhausted. So if I was to put that in a short summary, my favourite part of that day was definitely Ogre's Cantina. Just getting in there, having some drinks with some old friends, getting out of the AC, or getting into the AC, sorry. Loved it. My favourite ride, Radiator Springs Races. Don't need to repeat myself with that one. And my least favourite part would be Autopia. I know we just talked about that, but there is so much potential. They could do something with electric vehicles. They could do some really cool stuff with that space, and it's a bit of a shame that they haven't.
You know, I feel like they're probably going to have to switch to electric vehicles because I think California eventually is like outlawing cars that need gas.
Yep, they are.
So, yeah, I mean, if there were electric vehicles, that'd be such a cool ride.
How cool would that be?
Yeah.
It could be sponsored by Tesla or one of the other companies that do electric vehicles, and it could be all about, teaching kids how to charge your electric vehicles and, how quickly the battery runs out on them. And I don't know, I think there's also a big learning opportunity that could be brought into that. It's probably more of an Epcot ride, but yeah, I think that ride needs a bit of an overhaul.
Yes, it definitely does. Maybe one day.
Yeah. Maybe. One day. Maybe.
One day.
So, a couple of weeks later, after my friend's wedding, my parents had also flown in from Australia, and the four of us, so me, my fiance, and my mum and dad, decided to go to Disneyland together. So at this point, Rory and I had been for 2 weeks. We'd been for 2 days, 2 weeks prior. My mum and I went to Disneyland 5 years ago together. So it was my dad's first time, and it was the first time that all four of us got to go together.
How fun.
Yeah. So there is this really cute photo of the four of us taken out the front, and it's printed with so much pride in my study. I love that photo so much.
That's special.
The only thing going to Disneyland with parents is that there was no chance that we were going to do a 20 or 30,000 step day. Yes. It just was not going to happen. They wanted to have a much slower paced day, and I think by that point we really needed it. So we ended up getting to the park at about 10:30. We had a nice late start, and I have no regrets about that at all. So that was really, really sweet. We started at 10:30, no desire to rope drop at all. For the first half an hour, we just walked around and absorbed it all. I will never forget my dad saying to me, I can't believe how clean this place is. And when you've been to the parks a couple of times, it all begins to look a little bit normal and all begins to kind of look the same.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go there for the first time, to have someone say to you, I can't believe how clean this place is, it makes you stop and realise how tidy it actually is, and it makes you appreciate those hard-working cast members who keep that place looking magnificent. I don't think they get enough credit.
I agree. It's beautiful. It's so clean.
It's beautiful. It's so clean. And when you think about the amount of food and drink that people consume in that place all day, every day, you would not know.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you never really see them around. Like, you don't see them. They're like ninjas.
How does it happen? I just don't understand it. So if there is any cast members, or is it custodial?
They're still just called cast members.
Well, if there's any cast members that listen to this podcast, this is my moment to say massive thank you, because I think the work that you do is incredible, and it's those little things that I think make it. How tidy it is, how clean it is, how manicured it is, and the fact that it happens almost unnoticed, I think is spectacular.
Yes, thank you very much.
So the first ride we did that day, of course, with my mum was It's a Small World. She was itching to get back on that ride, so we did that. 10-minute wait, not long at all. We then went to Carnation Cafe at 11:45. I left the dining reservation for this day pretty late. I did not do this 60 days in advance. It definitely wasn't my first preference for food, but it was pretty good. We all got the spicy chicken sandwich, and it was better than I expected it to be.
Oh, that's good, yeah.
Yeah, I know there's definitely better restaurants. We were dying to get into the Blue Bayou. I was freakishly checking the Disney Experience app all the time, trying to see if I could get a reservation, but we just missed out, unfortunately. But it was a good option if you need something last minute.
That's good to know.
We then spent some time taking photos out the front of the castle, and then we headed to my favourite. I think I've said my favourite ride about 700 times, but when you're a Disney person, you get it. You get it. The Haunted Mansion.
I love the Haunted Mansion.
When we went the first time, it was closed for its Nightmare Before Christmas overlay.
Okay.
So it was partly the reason why we went back for a third day after we'd been around America, finally getting back to California. I said to my fiance, I have to get on this ride. It is a non-negotiable for me. I have to do it. And it was incredible. Have you been on it with the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay?
Yes, I have. It's been a while. I think it was 2016, but yes, it is amazing.
If you've watched that film, and you'd be silly if you haven't watched that film.
Yeah.
I just loved it. I loved it. I have a bit of a thing for the Pumpkin King. That's what my partner says to me. He's like, you've got a thing for the Pumpkin King, don't you? Like, yeah, I do. I call my dog Winston, who's just behind me having a nap. In the months of September and October, his nickname becomes the Pumpkin King.
That's cute.
It makes no sense at all. I can't explain it, but yes. Yeah, he becomes the Pumpkin King.
That's cute.
I love that ride. I know we're jumping the gun a bit. We will talk about the Walt Disney World trip, but I thought the stretching room at Disneyland was better than the one at Walt Disney World.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure if that's a controversial opinion, but I thought that was really cool. We were fortunate enough that the ride did break down, but it broke down right in front of the dining room.
Oh, nice.
Anyone who's been on that ride knows that the dining room is the best.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to sit there. It was about 5 minutes.
Wow.
That we got to sit there and just watch it all. And the magic. And it's so simple. All it really is, as the saying goes, is smoke and mirrors. but it's so well done that it's just amazing. And Rory and I, we just caught ourselves just admiring the scenery and then looking at each other and giggling like children and then looking back. Like it was one of the favourite moments of the whole holiday was getting into the Haunted Mansion.
That's
so yeah,
awesome.
we just loved it.
Very cool.
From there, we went to Star Wars Land. We just had a look at Galaxy's Edge. We did some bits and pieces. We took our time soaking it in. Kylo Ren was out and about, and we got to see him and Chewie kind of do a little bit of a run around the theme park, and that was just really sweet.
That's fun. It
was really fun. I had the balls to go up to him and say, "I've seen Chewie." And I had so much adrenaline going through me at that point. I don't remember what happened after that, but I remember Kylo Ren coming up to me and then he's amazing. I was scared.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's intimidating. And yeah, he came within an inch of my face and then did this really dramatic turn, almost spun around and walked in the other direction. I was like, oh, this is scary.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
It was fun though.
That is fun.
Then we did the Lightning Lane for Smuggler's Run. So this is the third time we've ridden this ride by this point. I nominated Mum and Dad as pilots.
Good move.
Yeah. They did an absolutely shocking job.
That's so cute.
It was shocking. I think we probably got one of the lowest scores in history.
Oh my gosh.
If you haven't been in that kind of ride before, it is a lot to process. And anyone who's been in there knows that the up and down movement is in reverse. So if you want your vehicle to go up, you pull the trigger down and the other way around. And my mum just had so much adrenaline going through her that I don't think she really understood that.
Uh-huh.
So my dad was driving left and right. And I remember Dad being on the ride and Dad said, "Sue, I can't go left and right if you keep crashing us into the ground." And Rory and I we were the what were we at the back?
The engineers.
I think we were the engineers at the back. Oh, and then the shooters, the gunners.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't do anything because we spent the whole time laughing our heads off at the poor performance of the pilots in the front.
That's so funny.
I think my mum squealed and screamed for the whole ride. She just was so overwhelmed by the whole thing. She was just shocking.
Oh, that's cute.
But that's what's cute about it. Yep. You don't have to get the high score. It's all about the experience. So, yeah, that was so funny.
That's so fun.
We then did the individual Lightning Lane for Rise of the Resistance. So, again, this is the third time we've ridden this ride. And Rory and I, we were just getting that vicarious experience through someone else for the first time. It was just amazing. It got, as I said, it just gets better every single time you did it. My parents agreed that it was their favourite attraction. Out of everything we did that day, that was their favourite as well.
Yeah, it's just it's hard to beat.
It really is. It really is. From there, we went to the Enchanted Tiki Room. Really not for the Tiki Room. Again, air conditioning and Dole Whip.
Yeah.
We really needed it. We then jumped over to DCA and we did the Lightning Lane for Soarin'. So when Mum and I went in 2018, it was hands down her favourite. Dad liked it, but he didn't understand why I had gone on about that ride for so many years. He's like, yeah, it was good, but was it that good?
Oh, my gosh.
Come on, Dad. Give me a break.
Well, he did just ride Rise of the Resistance. You have to be like, that wasn't there when I came.
Yeah, that's right. It's all about... Look, I actually didn't think about that. That's very true. It's hard to get on anything after you've been on Rise of the Resistance.
Yes.
That's very true. We then did the Lightning Lane for Radiator Springs Races. So the ride broke down when we were on it this time. When you've gone through, there's the two options. I think it's either the tyre change or the spray paint. Mm-hmm. I think are the two options. And then you get to the starting line for the race. it broke down right there.
Oh, no.
Which is a bit frustrating because you kind of
Mhm.
want to have that momentum of getting to the starting line and then going. But we were so lucky when it eventually got started and we did the course. A very kind cast member said, go on it again. Don't get out of the ride vehicle. So we got to go on it twice, which was
That's
awesome.
nice.
I think that was really sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's good we got to do it twice. After that, we just walked around and enjoyed our surroundings. We really just wanted to just take it all in.
Mm-hmm.
We, Mum and I did silly symphony swings.
Those are fun.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
It's innocent. It's fun. You don't have to overly think about it. It's just you get on it and enjoy the scenery.
Yep.
That was really sweet. We then jumped back to Disneyland and did the train.
That's
First
awesome.
time I've done it. In the 3 visits to the park, there's something so cute about that train. And that Grand Canyon that fits behind Disneyland when you're on the train, the fake Grand Canyon at the back. Oh, we were in stitches. We just thought it was the cutest thing ever.
Aw, I've never rode a train at any of the Disney parks because every single time I go, they're being worked on.
That's so frustrating.
And I've been a lot, which is crazy. I've never got to ride the train. So I'm like dying to ride the train.
Oh, well, hopefully it opens up in Walt Disney World soon. If they can, get their butts into gear and get Tron finished. I don't care about
Seriously.
Tron. I just want to get back on the train.
Me too. I just want to ride that train.
I know. I can't believe you haven't been on it.
No.
Oh, what a shame.
I know. So I want to see that Grand Canyon.
Yeah, make sure you do it.
I
Then
will.
tell me about it once you've done it.
Yes.
What did we do after that? We also went back for dinner at Lamplight Lounge. I don't know why we decided to go to the same place twice, but it was just, we thought it's so pretty at night time. We know the food's good, so we went there. And we were able to watch the World of Colour show from the dinner table outside.
That's wonderful.
Have you seen World of Colour?
Yes.
Did you like it?
It was okay.
Yeah.
Like it's not,
Yeah.
I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It was just okay.
I feel like where we were sitting wasn't the best. You kind of have a bit of an obstructed view of the show.
Mhm.
I didn't realise that they used that much water. Like it was more of the mechanics and the engineering behind that night show that really intrigued me, and that's when I think maybe it's not done properly. If you're thinking more about, wow, look at all this water, rather than thinking about the lights and the colours, then maybe it's not as good as it could be.
Yeah, I don't know. Like when we even left early when we saw it, like we didn't stay for the whole thing.
Yeah, it goes for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've definitely realised I'm more of a fireworks kind of person.
Me too. I want those big booms and the music, and I want all that.
All the drama.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So it was still nice because I hadn't seen World of Colour. None of us had seen it before. So it was nice that we could all kind of experience something for the first time together. But we were a little bit bummed that there was no fireworks on that night because, of course, it was my dad's one and only visit to Disneyland.
Yeah, that is a bummer.
Yeah, it is a bit of a bummer. But that's the thing with Disney and these kind of vacations is that you do have to learn to roll with the punches. Sometimes things don't go to plan, and you've really got to try to push past it and find the beauty in the things that you didn't expect and expect things to go wrong, because they will.
Oh yeah, they always do.
They always do.
Yep.
So then after dinner, we just walked around Cars Land. It was a real treat at night time.
It's beautiful.
The whole thing was in the Halloween theme,
Aww.
which we loved. My dad is a car nerd. He loves cars. Cars as in the actual cars, not as in the movie.
Yeah.
But he does have like a Porsche, which is one of the cars that's in the Cars movie.
Uh-huh.
And it would have been really nice for him to see what that land looks like outside of the Halloween setting. I feel like it's all the Halloween overlays are awesome if you've been there before and see what it looks like without it. just to see what it's meant to look like in its every other day appearance, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I totally agree because, I mean, I guess that's something people who go all the time don't realize. But yeah, if this is your like one vacation, you're not really getting the opportunity to see what it really looks like.
And because, again, being Australian, and Halloween isn't a massive thing for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. There's the orange cones
Mm-hmm.
around there that have got the Halloween faces on them. And Dad's like, does it look like this all the time? And I was like, no, it's because it's Halloween. So it's like, yeah, you really take it for granted when you're only there once and you don't really get to see what it looks like at the other points of the year.
That is true. I've never thought about it like that, but you're right.
Yeah, but it's still amazing though. Like, it's still a sight to behold, but it just makes me want to go more than once.
Yes. See, I think they do it on purpose. They're like, we got to get these people to want to come back.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was the second day, or the third day done, sorry. And we'd done 23,000 steps that day. So for a quiet day at Disney, we still did pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, your feet were probably still a little bit tired after that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, again, it was enthusiasm and energy that got me through.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nothing else. But yeah, so that was the Disneyland trip. Was there any questions or anything that you want me to go into for a little bit more detail?
So, if we could just talk about the hotel you stayed at. You said it was the Anaheim Hotel. Did y'all like that hotel?
It wasn't flash. It was cheap.
Okay.
In hindsight, we would stay on property again.
Mm-hmm.
But we were hardly. It's what's hard with hotels is that you're hardly there. So it's really not worth spending a huge amount of money on something that you're really not going to enjoy.
Yeah.
The proximity to the park was amazing. That was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
But the hotel itself wasn't anything special.
That's good to know because it is like Disneyland has so many not Disney hotels. It's kind of hard for people if they aren't familiar with them, like which one is a good one, which one isn't a good one. So I always like to hear people's experiences with those hotels.
I feel like if you've got young kids and want something with a little bit more theming, there's probably better hotels to pick. But if you're a young kind of couple like Rory and I are, and we don't have kids or anything like that, it's a good middle ground.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to stay somewhere a little bit more luxe and you're after that kind of more fancy experience, I would book somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. So I will just ask you on your Disneyland portion of your trip, what was your least magical moment?
Can I say 2 least magical moments?
Absolutely.
There was some unfortunate examples of guests being rude to cast members. It's a really difficult situation. It's one of those, I understand it completely. You've invested time, money, emotions into a trip and you want it to be perfect. But sometimes I felt like the cast members got a real rough treatment from guests. And that's sometimes really hard to watch, especially when there's young kids around watching grown adults act like kids.
Yes.
Yeah. I get it, but I get it from both sides. Disney's so expensive. Like, can we all agree it is really not a cheap exercise?
Nope.
So I get it. There's a lot of emotions on the line and there's a lot of expectations, but I think we all need to, we're all in this park and it's all about families and connections and meaningful moments. And I feel like sometimes we need to pass those on to the cast members too. My other least magical moment was the heat. It was so hot that it was almost a bit uncomfortable at some points, especially on that first day. It was just a killer. It was so uncomfortable. Sometimes you can look forward to getting into air conditioning more than appreciating where you're at. There would be often throughout the day, Rory would tap me on the shoulder and I'd all be like, I'm hot, I need a drink, I'm sweaty, blah, 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 blah. It's like, you're in the most magical place on earth. Stop being a brat.
Yeah.
Like, appreciate where you're at, you know? Like, take it in, have a minute, and recenter yourself. I think that's it.
Well, that's not too bad.
I feel like because it was just us for 2 of those days, if it got a little bit much, which it did, you can just go back to your hotel and have a bit of a breather.
Yeah.
And I felt like that is what stopped us from having moments where we were exhausted or over it, is that you've got to know where your limit is. And I guess this is, if you were going to ask me if there's some advice or anything I give to people, it's taking the time to appreciate the little things, because the little things are the things that stick in your brain after the trip. And it's about knowing where your limits are. It's like, if you are not actually having a good time, if you've walked 40,000 steps and you're over it, leave and come back.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
Yeah, I feel like there's this need amongst some of the Disney community and park guests that is all about, like, having the most magical time and having the best trip ever. And it's like, sometimes it's about knowing where your limits are, not pushing yourself to the point of complete exhaustion where it ruins the rest of your trip. Like, when we were in Walt Disney World, we'll talk about that soon, there was points where Rory and I looked at each other like, we've got to leave. Like, this, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah, and
you thank yourself for it later.
Yeah, and people just need to realize, too, what someone else's perfect day is might not be your perfect day.
Oh, yeah. And when you've watched literally months, Rory and I probably watched YouTube content for about a year. You get this idea in your head about what it's meant to be like. And sometimes that's not what happens. And you got to appreciate that just because it wasn't what someone else's perfect day was, or you didn't love a ride that everyone else told you that you would love, doesn't mean that your experience was bad. It was just different.
Yep, that's awesome. I totally
just
agree.
Different. Yeah.
So what was your most magical moment?
There was a couple. If I had to pick one, the most magical moment would be walking out of the Anaheim Hotel, walking down the street. There's the purple Disneyland Resort sign. People will know it. Walking under there and then walking into the downtown Disney district and seeing both parks on either side. It was that vista. When you walk in and you see everything for the first time, you realise what you're about to walk into. You literally feel like your problems are leaving you. And the further you walk down that road, your problems get further and further behind you.
Yeah.
Rory and I call Disneyland and those kind of parks our therapy. It's like adult therapy.
Yes, it is.
But just experiencing those moments with my partner who hadn't been for the first time, just that sign under the bridge and it's just those little things that I just absolutely adored. I get a little bit emotional thinking about it, really.
That's so great. I love it. This is why I do this show. I love hearing these moments people have, because most of the time you don't ever get to share it. So this is like your place to share it, and it's great.
Well, that's why I wanted to do it. And being fully honest, Rory and I got married last Sunday. So we've been married a week now. And our wedding officiant had no hesitation letting all of our wedding guests know that we were secret Disney adults and we'd spent our honeymoon in Disney parks. And so now we are officially outed to our friends and family, because a lot of people in Australia haven't done what we did. It's not really a thing, because it's a 15-hour flight to get there.
Yeah, it's so far.
It's so far. And then from California to Florida is another 5 hours. So really it's like to get to California is 15 and to get to Florida is 20 hours. And people just don't, our friends and family were a little bit confused. They're like, why are two childless millennials spending their honeymoon in a theme park? And when you've watched so many hours of YouTube content and you've watched Disney movies your whole life, like, you really get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the most magical moment, actually, for Rory and I, is we'd watched so much Mammoth Club. Shout out to the Man Fam if you're listening. I love you guys. Disney Food Blog, all ears, all those videos. And being able to, like experience it together. All this content that we consumed for a year and being there in the flesh and experiencing it was amazing.
That's so great. Thanks for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this show. Next week, I will be back with Lisa's Walt Disney World portion of her vacation. As always, this show is sponsored by me, a travel agent with my favorite agency, Trolley Lane Travel, an authorized earmarked agency. You can visit me on Instagram and Facebook, just search Disney Travel Tales, or visit the agency at trolleylanetravel.com and read through the bios of all the amazing agents that work there. If you want to travel to a Disney park next year or even go on a Disney cruise, I would love to help. I've been so busy planning trips for 2023 clients, and I want to get you added to my list. Check my Linktree link in the show notes. This will take you to lots of information on how to get this process started. Join us next week for the rest of Lisa's trip tales. So until then, this is Jenny, and may all your Disney travel dreams become a reality.